is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to episode 3 of Sunday Morning Conversation, where we interview content creators, large and small, and anywhere in between about the TCG business, Pokemon, and trading card space. If you want to be on a future episode of Sunday Morning Conversation, I'll have my email in the description of the video. Also, you can reach out to me on Instagram. I would love to talk to you. In today's episode, I have a really good friend of mine that I've known for a couple years through some Discords that I befriended and getting started into this whole trading card business, who has been in it way longer than I have. Looking forward to talking about all sorts of various topics. Let's welcome to the show TealGaming. Teal, how we doing, man?
What's up? What's up, Bronzgod? Thank you for having me on. This is great. I gotta say, you're pumping.
Appreciate
You've had some amazing guests, and now we're gonna completely fall off. But then,
No.
and then it's upward from there. No, but
Yeah,
I've been watching on YouTube. You've been doing fantastic, and thank you for having me for sure.
No, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the joke, but trust me, even though I'm doing my thing on YouTube, I mean, you're killing it in areas that I wish I was killing a little more on, and that's kind of wanted to maybe start off with is, how long have you been selling? How long have you been on the grind? What is your overall experience level in the business or hobby in general?
Selling, I started back in, when did War of the Spark come out? 2019.
Yeah.
2019, I got back into Magic. I started way back in Ice Age. I'm from Indiana, so we had a comic store there, and I bought Ice Age packs, but nobody knew how to play. There was no internet, so we didn't. I just had pictures of cards that I fell in love with, and then War of the Spark came out, and I just reintroduced myself to Magic, and then I became a Rudy disciple, an Alpha Investments. I found him, and I'm like, wow, we can make this into a business. So what happened? I bought his 6.9 69 anniversary kit,
Okay.
right? And he oversold it. So he asked through Patreon if anybody would give their kits back, and I said, yeah, I'll give mine back. And he sold me 2 cases of Baldur's Gate for like $55 a box, and that started me on the road. I still have a lot of the bulk from the 2 cases, but I got it for 55 a box, and then I just started opening it, and then just I started on Tcgplayer, I started on eBay, and I found Rob, our godfather, Rob from RNG Games.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of coalesced everything for me so that I was able to sell and kind of turn it into a business. So that's pretty much the short story of how I got started. But
Yeah, it's funny
yeah.
how the more and more I talk to people and the more we go through it, there's basically 2 godfathers of bulk, and that's
Do I need a headset? Do I need a
no,
headset?
you're fine.
Oh, I don't?
No.
It's not going to be hooked to anything.
Okay. Yeah. you have me scared for that second. Okay. I was like, all right.
I don't know. This is like a podcast. I want to make sure I look the part.
No, the only reason why I have a headset on is because if I don't, everything is going to sound crazy. So, but yeah, you have TCG Bulk Kings and you've got Rob, and I've kind of consider those. I mean, there's obviously people that have been doing things longer, but when it comes to bulk and really kind of setting up a foundation for cards in general, those 2 and probably Chase from Bulk Kings, maybe for a tad bit longer, have really started to, their word, for lack of a better term, has really started to shape its own kind of era in cards. The more and more people get into bulk and doing this kind of thing, do you think that's going to have a negative effect in the long term, or is it more of the, there's so many more people out there that want to buy versus sell that it's never going to be an issue?
I don't think so. The bulk, I mean, so many people need cards. I think I was listening to your last video and they were talking about like how many people need cards all the time for 90 commander decks. And like, I know, just going through like Rob's Discord, new people coming in, I've mentored 2 new sellers that that I was friends with that started a business. And it just doesn't seem like, I think someone said there's plenty of bread in the pond for all the ducks, So
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think we're ever. And I think on your last video you're talking about the new scanner that's coming in. All that bulk is going to be. We're just going to have so many more cards, and it's just going to be so much more organized. It's going to be a lot better. I just see good things for the market and for cards in general. Coming up. So
I do too, and I wonder. you know, because just like big cards in general, like bulk has its own market too. 2 or 3 years ago, when the pandemic was going, the rates are kind of are at where they are now, where some stores are paying 2 cents a card or like $20 or $30 per thousand. Then a couple years after that, it tanked, and you could basically get bulk for $5 per thousand or less. And now we're kind of back into that 20, 15, 20 per thousand, depending on who you're buying from and what your level is. Do you think that with it being bulk, do you think that the buy rates on that stuff could get any higher? And how much do you think the big boys like Star City, Cool Stuff, etc., set that standard for what the rates are?
Well, I think someone also made the point too that like so much of this stuff is getting ripped. The rip and shippers. Like I started on Whatnot myself, and I've noticed that I have like a tremendous like a lot of times when I do the Whatnot and I do a rip or a pack break, I ask them if they want the cards, and most people are just like keep them. Send the hits and be done with it. So my bulk, I just think there's just so much. Being open now, whereas before I don't think any of it. I don't think half as much was being opened. And now there's the whole the gambling premium, the dopamine hits, the fear of missing out, like the whole Whatnot platform. So I don't think it's ever gonna. Uh, I just don't see the prices going up because there's
Sure.
just a glut of supply. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you need people to do that work. You need people to find it, to alphabetize it, to break it down, and then distribute it. And that's where you come in. And you actually turned me on to bulk. Like I found myself like now I'm staring at. I bought all these reverse hollows and
Yep.
hollows just based off your recommendation, and I've been going through those. It takes time. I put them up, but
Oh yeah.
now with Tcgplayer Direct, you're guaranteed at least what is it, 20,
20
21
cents.
cents a card. Yeah, so it's not bad at all.
No,
You know,
and what's funny about that is the amount of people that, it's not a glorious job doing the bulk thing. You're not in front of a camera doing crazy things with breaks and this, that, the other.
right, right,
But that's one of the people that I've tried starting to ask for the most for this type of stuff is people that I know who break, or trying to find people who open packs, because a lot of these people just throw this stuff away. And
right.
if you manage to find even one or two people that go through a decent amount of product, the one that I actually bought from before did not care, and I think I ended up getting like 50,000 cards for like $200. It was like so dirt cheap. And but it's like cold calling on a sales call. It's like you're gonna get 20 no's before you get one yes. So you have to be asking
Right.
everybody, not just with bulk, but with anything. You mentioned Whatnot. I didn't realize you did. Did you do Whatnot before the 2019 thing, or is that something?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, my wife, she started on Whatnot, and she sells
That's right.
athletic wear and stuff. And she kind of got me on. She's done incredibly well on the platform, and then she kind of gave me the courage to get up there and do it. And I did. I've done. Let's see. I think I've done seven or eight shows.
Yep.
The first two shows were amazing. I tried to do breaks on shows 3 and 4, and that was a total disaster. Apparently, with the gambling laws, you can't
Yeah.
promote breaks. You can't do any of that. So you can only promote like rips or singles. So I had nobody. I
Interesting.
was. It was just me, and it was like me and you in the room. That was it. And I think you were my mom in the for those two shows. And then I went back to singles, and and I did a box of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was the first rip, and they bought all the packs for a little bit of a premium.
Sure.
Nothing crazy. And then my whole goal with Whatnot is just to not be on a rattle video. That was the thing. Not not to scam anybody, or
Yeah.
like just make sure we send the hits. And someone did pull a pixel turtle card. It was like
Oh,
$300 or $400. Yeah, it was great. But I shipped it out no problem, because I'm not like who's gonna risk their reputation for. I saw a video the other day. Somebody withheld someone ripped a Gengar on the stream, and then all of a sudden they say, "Oh, the shipping profile was wrong. We're gonna sorry, we can't ship the card," or they ship it to somebody else. So it's like I hate. Part of me hates being on there because I feel like I'm being lumped into that.
yeah. Guilty by
That
association almost.
right. But like I built my business on like Tcgplayer is all trust. It's a stamp
Mm-hmm.
and an envelope, and they got to trust you to ship it. And and then I got to trust them that they're going to admit that they got it. And you run into those problems where they say, I didn't get the cards or whatever, but you just build that into the business. But Whatnot has been, it's weird. Whatnot is weird. I don't feel good after doing a Whatnot stream. Um, I don't know why that is. Maybe somebody can explain in the comments, or maybe you could have someone on who's like really
Yeah.
good at what,
I was
So,
actually going to ask you about that because the other night I was on. It may have been after you were doing a show, or I remember what happened, but I just popped in. Someone was doing dollar singles, and I watched someone buy a Blastoise EX, like the base EX from Stellar Crown, for
okay.
$50.
Wow.
And in doing this business, I know there's the saying, value is what someone's willing to pay for it. But I also think there's a limit to that. And I don't know how I feel, even the times that I think about maybe I should try it out. I don't know how I would feel with myself if someone spent that much money or even half of that on something that does not have the inherent value at all.
Sure.
How do you manage to toe the line to where, because I've been into one or two of your shows and you usually relatively start things off just under the market price. So that way, if you get a bid or two, you're kind of getting what you normally should minus your fees, which I think is a really good way to go about it so you don't run into that. But have you run into situations where someone just kind of, a card takes off and it's over? Yeah. How do you handle that?
Yeah, and I've had a couple of people like come in the chat and say that the prices were going over market, like they pocket watched within the stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to comp everything before I go, and I try to put a range of cards. Like I have like $1 to $2 cards, and then I'll go all the way up to 20. And if I really don't like, I can get cooked on a $20 card if I started at $2 or $5. So I kind of set an auction, but it's I set up like a buy it now almost. But yeah, I've had that where I've had a couple, but I've also been destroyed too. Like I let a promo go for, and someone commented that that was way under market or something like that. So I think there's an equilibrium. You do make some, but then like some of the bigger sellers, like you said, it's wild, but it draws on that fear. Like that timer is a huge catalyst to buy because you see it counting down and you don't want to miss out. And then people are there's a competition to it, and you're like, I don't want that guy to win. And look at this guy, he sniped me again. And you get these dopamine hits, instant gratification. Your peers are jealous because you open something. It's like it blends some of the worst elements of human nature and buying into a platform, but I don't know. But some people are very chill. Some people are very chill. It's just easy singles. We're not spinning wheels. We're not. There's no confetti dropping. It's. I guess it is what you make of it. And how you style your show.
I would agree with that. And I think there's the Venn diagram of Whatnot. I think there's some overlap with like an honest rip and ship, right? Because with a rip and ship, there's not really much value for the person buying the product, with the exception of the experience that you're getting to open packs in a chat with a bunch of like-minded people. So on a pack that you might spend $5 or $6 on the store for, you might be paying $7, $8, $9. You're paying a couple dollars extra more for the experience. And some could argue that Whatnot is that same experience, and the extra that you pay might just be the premium pay for that fun. But like we've heard many of our godfathers say, that different marketplaces command different prices.
Sure.
And this is probably one of the few, if not only, hobbies where you will constantly have people pocket watch and say, well, that's not what this value is. This, that, the other, blah, 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 blah. And it always is cherry picked according to where you are in the market. So like right now where everything's pumping, everyone wants the pocket watch to make sure that's going for no more than what the market value is. And if you do, you're this horrible person, you deserve to have your business ruined. But however many years it might take, 6 months, a year, 2 years, when everything eventually goes back down, it may not go back down to like COVID levels, but once things go back down, everyone's going to turn into MSRP. You're charging MSRP and things aren't at MSRP. Now you're a demon, and there's like almost no way to win. So you kind of have to just, take the good, the bad, average it out over the long the long tail of things. And as long as you're not doing anything too gross, it all averages out. I wonder what you think about that with as far as the way the market is now and how that might affect things going forward.
You're talking about that MSRP, and it's funny. I live here in South Florida, and I went to Tate's, which is in like Lauderhill, and I took my son Jack, and I was like, "We're gonna get some perfect order, Jack. We're gonna get some packs." This is I was like, "This set is underperforming. It's not doing great. I think we're good." So I walk in. I shouldn't put them on blast, but they had absolutely no Pokemon, no packs, and 3 singles in the case. That was it. And it was a tent sale, so I mean, I'm sure they had a lot of traffic and stuff. But it's like even like the bad sets, the MSRP, I just don't see it. There's just not enough to fulfill. I think we totally underestimate the amount of packs that are being opened on a daily basis. It's something that we've never seen before, because it's not for competitive play. What
Right.
is it? It's just people chasing that dope, that hit. But yeah, the market is, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
I did that collector app,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows you, I think Pokebeard does it, and I put like a good chunk of my collection in, and I can't even tell you what it's doing. I mean, it's like straight up, it's wild, just the stuff that I have. But
Yeah,
yeah,
with the way, what's funny is I was thinking about this earlier was everybody knows who's been doing this for a long time that it's going to go back down eventually, but it's
you think
almost
so?
getting, I think it will, but I think what's going to happen is it's not going to be like it was where it goes up and then almost all the way back down. I think it's the
Right,
market's going to do what a lot of singles, especially in Pokemon, are doing is where you might have a single that's at $2 that jumps up to 10 and then retraces back down to like 6. So
I mean,
all these sealed products that I think the days of $100 booster boxes are gone. But I think things are so high right now that they will retrace maybe back down to the maybe the MSRP to $200 mark, but 200, 300, $400 booster boxes when they first come out like completely annihilates the casual collector, and
right.
for me at least, as someone who likes to collect, it's probably not the smartest thing to do while you're trying to run a business. But when you're trying to casually collect a set and you have so many people out there trying to buy everything up to make even more money off you, you start to feel a resentment might not be the right word, but it's like I don't want to have to
Yeah,
pay extra just for someone else's side business. And it's weird to say because I have a side business, but there's a real fine line there, and I think that to get dramatic, I think there's going to be like a civil war in the next year or two of all this stuff happening, and I'm really kind of
right.
curious to see what the shot heard around the world that's going to be to really make things change.
Right. It could, yeah, definitely. But then you have, the Wall Street Journal doing institutional investing into the hobby, and the Shark Tank boys doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody wants to get a taste, and they see those returns, and you just can't. It's just money's just going to keep coming in until they absolutely obliterate the print runs, or, I don't know, like World War III or something,
Yeah.
where we all got to go fight.
You think at this point it's just like an unquenchable thirst, even in a year or two when Pokemon gets this facility that they built and they just start cranking stuff out like there's just no, it's just like a black hole, a Galactus of cardboard
Yeah.
that is just never going to be back to normal.
Unless Yeah, and I think fundamental attitudes within people just need to change. There needs to be something different. But even Magic packs are crazy expensive, like the specialty packs, and Pokemon hasn't even done anything like that.
Yeah.
They haven't even done any kind of like crazy
God forbid.
collector pack or anything like that, or serialized, or
One of one
artist
Pikachu
signature.
paw
Oh
print,
my God.
an actual
Gee.
Pikachu put his hand on this card and now it's
Yeah,
signed.
I'd
Yeah,
wear
I can't
that
even
at
imagine.
WrestleMania. That's
Oh
why.
man. Could
Yeah,
you
but
imagine
what the one of
them doing
one
that? Like some kind
Pikachu?
of
Oh yeah.
serialized
But they don't need to. It's like they don't need to dilute their. They don't need to. Magic needed to. I mean, Pokemon's private. Magic's under Hasbro, so Hasbro has a tremendous dividend that they got to meet. Every quarter, and they got to pump it out. They got to get the love in there. Pokemon is just chill. They don't need to. They're like old money. Magic's like new money.
yeah.
Pokemon's like old.
Makes you wonder though, like when they do get this new facility up, if because Pokemon, Nintendo, all those companies over there in Japan, they're like really, they might not have the best fanfare with Nintendo and stuff with the way they tackle like the aftermarket secondary people trying to do like tournaments and stuff. But a Pokemon company obviously knows what they're doing. So I wonder if like they have this like 5 to 10 year plan already stretched out. Like, okay, this is going to happen. Then we could probably expect a real big boom around here. And then let's just pick 2027 to just, you know what, we're gonna pick a couple sets and we're just gonna absolutely trash everything, get everyone just kind of to cool down, just kind of like manufacture their own peaks and valleys. Because I don't know, man. I don't think it can keep going like the way it is now. I mean, at some point it's gotta peter out a little bit. When because I started back when COVID started. How long was the boom during the COVID times? That was only about 2 years or so, right?
Yeah. I wasn't as heavy into Pokemon. I was still kind of, my big thing was Magic most of the time. Pokemon in like the last couple of years, I've been doing it pretty regularly. But my son too was a big part of that. He's 8 now, so when they hit about 5, 6, they start really liking the Pokemon packs. So that kind of brought me into it too. Because I don't know what I see in these little cards with little like cute dragons and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I don't play it, but for some reason I'm drawn to it. I love it. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I
And it's
started.
hard. Go ahead.
I started collecting Pokemon. Well, so I actually just found some in a collection I bought. And I'm going to do a video about it. But I bought a collection, and inside I found a complete set of X-Men Fleer Ultra 1994, which was the first trading card thing I ever collected ever. And it was me going into the local card shop with my dad trying to get those cards is when I got introduced to Pokemon, because that's when Pokemon had first come out. So I think I had maybe 2 5 rows of nothing but first edition Psyducks and Topps Chrome, this, that, the other, and it all got wrecked during a hurricane. I want to say it was like Hurricane Floyd. Whichever one was like really bad. There was like a year that we had like 3 or 4 come in the state like all at the same time.
And I remember Gene hit Palm Beach pretty hard. I remember that was a huge flutter.
Yeah, and it was a bummer, but
oh man,
I don't know, man. I don't think that people now are going to get to experience what it was like in the very beginning. Because there was obviously fervor for the game, and there was a lot of interest, and people wanted a lot of stuff, but there's just too many crazy things going on right now. And that's honestly kind of the reason why I chose the bulk route, especially after probably seeing some of the similar videos that you do, which is I look at all the big stuff. Like, I wish I could be selling Moonbryons, and I wish I could be selling PSA 10 Charizards.
Sure.
I'll look at the screen. I'll be like, I wish I had it. And then I look to my left, actually to the left right now, I have these 2 giant stacks of Journey Together that I'm like, of a session of like 3 5 rows that I've been going through. And it's just like, I look at that and I look at that Charizard and I say, okay, this I can get to turn into that Charizard. It's going to be easier to do that versus working for 3 weeks, spending money that I probably shouldn't be spending on something like that. And the FOMO of it is what really gets people going, because some of these cards have been just jumping up in value so fast that you almost have to tell yourself that it's unobtainable. And if it were to happen, when it comes to the selling side of things, though, are there any products or things that you wish you had at the time to buy or sell that you didn't? And I wonder if you could go into, how much of a negative impact that would have had if you went and really went hard on something that you really wanted, but decided to pump the brakes because you knew that the potential damage that could do may outweigh the benefits of pulling the trigger on something risky.
I don't know, because I don't view any of it as a risk. I try to buy what I like, what I enjoy to open, what I enjoy to look at. I think Warren Buffett said, if you're going to buy a security or a stock, buy things that you don't mind holding for 10 years. So everything I buy, I try to, I pretty much enjoy it. I love cards with pictures on it, except, but you're talking about, I want to go back to the point you were talking about how you have a full first edition box that she lost in a hurricane. I have look at this. I'll show you this. So this is the game that I collected when I was a kid. the Star Wars TCG
Oh, yeah,
in a
yeah.
3-ring binder. So this is where my money went as a kid, all my allowances and stuff, worth like absolutely nothing, you know. And it's like, but that's what I liked. I love Star Wars,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
was another game that no one knew how to play. By the way,
That thing was
I still don't know how to play it.
hard. I had some
Right? I
rules on
still
it.
don't know. I had no. It came with a book, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
what is in this book? I don't even. Is this English? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like you know, a Sarlacc wrote it or something. But yeah, it's but yeah, pulling the trigger on stuff. I love cards. I love keeping stuff, and if it doesn't sell, you know, it's not my first job. You know, it's not my sole income. So if it doesn't sell, I don't worry about it. You know, I don't stress it. You know, I started this business with what I said with Rudy, and about five. I probably put in 5K, and it all kind of everything I bought after that has come from doing everything, you know, from doing the cheap cards, from doing the expensive cards, and now I'm starting to get more expensive stuff. So you know, just don't pigeonhole yourself with bulk, but try to do everything. You know, try to do a little bit here, and then you know, if you know high end singles are going crazy, pivot away and do bulk. You know, if bulk is tiring, then go back and you know you just gotta you gotta be flexible. You know, you gotta adapt and be flexible, and but do what
Yeah.
you like. You know, I'm not gonna buy sets that I don't like. Flesh and Blood, I wasn't really into it. Weiss Schwartz, I'm not. It's not really my thing, so I kind of stay away from it. Gundam, I love Gundam. Giant robots, fuck yeah, all right, let's do that. I love that, you know. So I started with that, but you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
it
it's
was go ahead and finish.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. No, no, no. This whole hobby is just amazing. There's
Yeah.
just so many different ways you can go about it and create something, your own little empire, you know?
Yep.
So,
That's something I've kind of kept trying to tell myself and I've said out loud is like there's no real wrong way to collect or buy or sell. It's just kind of finding that equilibrium that kind of gets you to where you need to be or to help build towards your goals. I'd asked that because just recently, like maybe a week or two ago, I had this really it was a really good opportunity, but ended up being way more work than it was worth. But there was we had I have a local guy, love the guy, he's great. He sells to like these big companies that do like all those like crappy repacks that you find in Walgreens or whatever. And he
sure.
needed like a million cards. And I think I have total, including things that are not sorted, like 500,000 or 600,000. And he was offering up a 3-to-1 trade credit for every $1 of singles. I would get three. So, and he had literally like $35,000 of just like Charizard EXs from Phantasmal Flames, Gold this, Umbreon VMAXs, and I was just like, all right, I'm going to get all this stuff boxed up right now because like that's like a no-brainer to me. But it ended up not working out because the semantics of it and the getting it all kind of put together in enough time wasn't working out. But I'm kind of glad it didn't because all that is probably going to end up turning into more down the road. And even someone like me who has a little tiny, shred of success in doing this, gets that FOMO. You know, it's like that fear of missing out of some really big sale or whatever. So when you're collecting or you're buying or selling, as much as you might think like, man, I really want to go for this, you need to also try not to put yourself in a position where you obviously have to take risks in this hobby, but you don't want to go so hard that you potentially just upend everything you've been working for
Yeah.
6 months to a year.
And opening stuff. That
Yeah.
that is my big, like a lot of times they're like, well, oh, I tripped. Oh, there's a little slit in that. I'm gonna have to open that now. Son of a gun. And you know, I've done that. So that's probably my biggest regret is opening stuff for I don't know. There's just like a little devil in me that says like, open that. That needs to get
Yeah.
opened. And my big thing is, Joe, you're not in the sealed business. You're in the singles business. And I can't sell singles that are tucked away in a pack. And I even joked with the Discord guys sometimes. I don't call them sealed. I call them pre-opened. They're
Yay.
pre-opened packs. Yeah, you know. So that's probably the hardest thing. Don't get high on your own supply. You know, that's what they say.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I try not to open stuff, but it's just so much fun. What am I doing?
I've I'm not gonna do it, but because I've been doing my pack opening series now for like almost a year and a half,
I love it.
and I
One
started.
pack magic.
You better believe it. And I started crunching the numbers, and it's like I keep telling myself, man, if I just use that money to buy like an extra case of Magic or extra case of Commander decks, that could accelerate things. But then there's also the other aspect of like, it kind of is getting that value and putting it on a social platform and sharing it to help that grow. So there's inherent value in that. But man, some of these weeks I'll open 7 or 8 packs and I'll literally brick every single one of them, and it
All
hurts
right.
so bad. But then you'll get that
But
30. Yeah.
that makes you feel alive. If it was always great, all sunshine makes a desert. You know what I mean? If you're always hitting stuff, it's like, well, okay, great. It's like I open Crown Zenith, and like every other pack is like, oh, that's amazing, but it's not. I don't know. It's like it's nothing special. If everything's special, nothing's special. So I think that pain that you go through, it just lets you know you're alive.
Yeah.
It's like the gambler's idea. It's not about winning or losing. It's just that you're alive.
Yep.
Something is happening in that moment for you, and
Yep.
that can be good or bad, but
That's actually one of my
yeah.
favorite scenes in I think it's Casino. There's a scene, for anyone who hasn't seen Casino, it's like one of the greatest gangster movies of all time. But basically, there's a scene where there's this big whale comes into the casino and he wins like $1 million and he just flies away. And they bring him back to
You
try to
bring
get
it
him to
back.
put that money
Yeah.
back in.
Oh, yeah,
And
I remember that. I remember.
instead of betting like however much it was a hand, $30,000 or $40,000 a hand, he like trimmed it back down to like $10,000 a hand. And the way they were talking about in the movie is when you have someone like that, or even people in the hobby that are right now that are going crazy, when you make a win at a smaller investment than you would, they don't look at it as winning $10,000. They look at it as losing 30 because they would normally bid, bet $30,000, $40,000. So then they start going so hard they end up in the whole plus sum. And I kind of feel like people who are trying to do the not necessarily Whatnot specifically, but people who are going about this side business or hobby the wrong way is kind of like that, where they maybe don't know exactly what they're doing and they're just going full bore into something that may not have enough information or knowledge on, and then they find
Yeah.
themselves in a spot where they have all these credit card bills, or they didn't have the wherewithal to not get high on their own supply. And in that is kind of where the last crash came, because what people were ordering all these products thinking they weren't going to get enough, and all of a sudden there was a lot and they could not pay for it, and they had to start liquidating, and that's when the prices of these boxes came down. Now I know that that's not happening right now, but I'm really hoping that when Pokemon starts getting this kind of cranked up, that happens to a lot of people, where they start ordering 5,000 boxes and all of a sudden they got 5,000 boxes to spend, and then
Yep. It goes in the shitter. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just I did my order with Louis from Kitchen Table, and he did our allocations, and I asked for a lot, and I got very little. So I mean, even across the, but it's still great what he managed to give me. But going back to that gambling idea, I went to I was at the Hard Rock, had a card show, and I took my son, and unfortunately, yeah. Have you been to the Hard Rock, the giant guitar? Have you seen it in Fort Lauderdale or Hollywood?
I've seen it on commercial stuff. I've never actually been
Yeah,
there.
so you have to go in there and you have to walk. Unfortunately, you have to walk through the casino and to get to the ballrooms that have the card show. So my son has never seen a casino before, and I'm trying to go fast. And he's like, "What is this?" And it's like, slot machines and all this stuff. And I'm like, "Well, people gamble and they make And he goes, "Do people win?" And I go, Jack. Let's just say this giant guitar building was not built by
Yeah.
people winning. You know what I mean? So it's like it's and the same thing with Pokemon too. Or opening packs. You're gonna win sometimes, but you're like that dude, like you said from Casino. They're gonna bring you back, and you're gonna open stuff until you don't win. You know what I mean? It's wild. That's why I buy singles. I buy singles from me. Buy singles from Bronzgod, and that's the best thing. Let us
Yeah,
let us
exactly.
mess up.
Let us bear the bowl. I'm not a religious person, but whatever the saying is in the Bible, it's like the bear of the put the weight on our backs and then just
Right.
feed
Yep,
off of
yep, yep.
us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so with the way the market is now, How would you suggest someone getting into selling if they wanted to? Would you tell them to go down the bulk route?
Yeah,
Would you tell them to go a
yeah.
different route? And how would you, if you were starting over, if TealGaming said today I'm selling cards, what is your like one or two top tips that you'd give someone for someone who want to sell now?
I would say get on a Patreon, get on Rob's, get on Louis Kitchen Table, that dude out in Utah, and get with I got to tell you, Discord, Rob's Discord has been invaluable. You can get in for five. Well, you used to be able to get in for $5, and then there was different tiers. But just the information that you get from like-minded people or people that you want to like. I have like you and Hanad and Kochizi, and I have like this group of people that I talk to that have been uh, instrumental in helping me grow. And so, like, if I was going to start, I would get on a Patreon, maybe not buy anything, but just for the information,
Yeah.
because, like, if you can avoid the mistakes and learn how to ship, and just like I think you did a packing envelope video,
Mm-hmm.
just the wealth of information, and you know how many times like I said, well, this A has happened to me, how do I handle it B? And someone has come and told me, and it saved me so much trouble and time. So I would say get on a Patreon. Don't spend your life in Target. Don't you could try to find stuff, but try to find cheaper stuff and buy collections. I wish I could buy more I was gonna do that show with you. Remember when you did the
Mm-hmm.
vending? You did the show. I was gonna do that,
Thanks
and
for the free
I
table.
kind of right. I got sick, and I couldn't do it. And a lot of it was nerves too. Like
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
be truthful. Like I didn't think I had enough inventory to make it happen. But now, as I look back, I probably should have done it, and that was my mistake.
Hey.
But just I would buy collections, but that's the rub. It's like, where do you buy collections? And you have to get on Facebook Marketplace. You gotta get yourself out there. Just like when you find those bulk, like you were saying earlier, you gotta find those. For the 10 people that say no, it's that 11th person that says yes. So I buy collections, break them down, put in the work, get on a Patreon, buy products that are offered, like you said, not to don't over leverage yourself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And go from there and just start slow, low and slow, like good barbecue. Good barbecue is never made quickly.
Yeah.
You go too fast on barbecue, what happens?
You go to someone's house and they cook brisket in a microwave. That is the invitation
Yeah,
to walk right back out the door you came in.
yeah, just take your
Yeah.
time and do it properly. Put in processes, put in the work, and then get with like-minded individuals. Get a wolf pack. You can't have a wolf pack with just one wolf.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
And
I
talk to
think
people.
you're right. I think Rob still has the $5 tier, and I'm pretty sure
Oh,
Louis
get
is
in
only
that.
like $5 or $10.
Yeah, it's a great deal. And then he
So
gives you sometimes he even gives nibbles to the $5 people. They
yeah,
can buy product, sometimes. And that's the way to get in it. And then find collections and do the bulk thing. There's so much money in that bulk, man. And you totally turn my eyes around on that, if that's an expression
I
I
was
even know.
surprised by
But
that when you told me that a couple weeks ago because I always thought you were on that. Well, granted, Rob and a lot of people don't deal with Pokemon bulk a lot because they just do lots and they'll separate the trainers and that's it. But it's definitely like 10 times more work than Magic is, but it's there. My big thing is eBay. I cannot stand eBay. I don't know why. I know it's a necessity and I've been starting to try to make a bigger effort towards it, but I don't like it. So even though I know like some things like a list on there and make $1 versus 20 or 30 cents, it's like I would so much rather just throw 80 of something on Tcgplayer and watch it all go bye in a day.
yeah,
So I can buy
yeah,
more stuff. And again, there's no wrong way of doing it. If you want to, like my buddy Phantom that I talked to a couple weeks ago, he kills it on there. He puts reverse hollows on there all the time that sell for $3, $4,
I
$5.
saw
Someone
I
goes to make
saw
a
that.
$60 card out of some reverse hollows, and there's a little part of the whatnot thing in me. It's like, man, I don't know if I feel comfortable selling reverse hollows for $5, but it's a different marketplace. That person wants to pay for it. There's nothing wrong with it. But also, you kind of have to diversify what you're doing, and you can't really just sell in one place.
Right.
I did want to piggyback on something you said though, which was the thing with the show. I was nervous as hell too because that was the first time. I mean, I've done plenty of yard sales and stuff, or not yard sales. Me and my dad used to do sports cards at a flea market. It was like every weekend we go to the flea market. He was big into sports cards. I was like the helper that'd like sleeve things up and bag things up. So I kind of treated like going to the show as kind of dusting off the flea market skills. And yeah, the guy I sat next to, he probably had $100,000 in cards and sealed. And the guy to my left in the corner, he had so much crazy sports stuff. And I'm sitting here with my little couple of ETBs, a UPC, and maybe $1,000 worth of slabs. And I was like, I am not going to sell anything. And didn't even take 5 minutes. Just, hey, are you trading? Here's my stuff. I want this, that, the other. And I was just like, okay. So anyone out there who, watches all these vendor POVs, or that you see a podcast like this where two people have been in it for a few years, you can't judge your success off of the success of someone else. You want to look at that as a benchmark for where you want to be. And the only way to do that is to get started. So I wouldn't, if you want to start now. It's going to be a long, long road. Like he said, Rome isn't built in a day. Good barbecue isn't made in a day. It takes some time.
It takes time. Yeah. And remember, envy is the thief of joy. And there's no doubt about that. And just be happy with what you have and where you are. And it's a process, and you'll get there. Like sometimes I feel like I have a bounty of stuff, and then sometimes I'm like, I have nothing. It's like, it's wild. But
I actually have. You ever seen Moneyball? With
with Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
With Jonah Hill. Yeah.
I have.
Yep.
It's a 2-second. It's a 2-second clip towards the end when the whole Moneyball process is taking over, and there's a scene where Brad Pitt goes, "It's a process. It's a process. It's a process." And I had that clipped, and I have that 3 minutes long, so that way every time I start getting antsy, and I just play it over my head and just close my eyes and just listen to it, because sometimes you're gonna find yourself in spots where you really need to talk yourself down from whatever cliff you're about to jump off of, whether it's cards or getting started with content or really anything. It's easy to see the amount of people getting into the hobby now and thinking that you don't have a spot for it. But like my friend has said earlier, there's enough bread in the pond for all the ducks, and you're not going to get yours if you don't jump in the water. So.
And cultivate relationships. Cultivate relationships with people. Just, you and I interacting, all the people on Discord. I don't know how many times I've had somebody on Discord say, "Hey, there's a deal over here. You should jump on this." And it's like a hot stock tip. But I wouldn't have got that if I wasn't involved in talking to people. And then people at your local game store too. Go there. But make sure you know the rules of your game store before you start approaching people.
Sure.
But they can always reach you after you guys are out of the store and stuff. But the thing is like, talk to people. Like, nobody wants to talk anymore. Everybody is very much on the phone. They're very insular. And I think and I think that's why TCGs are so popular, because we crave it. Humans, it's very bad for a human to be alone. I mean, that's why they throw you in solitary confinement. That's why you're, depression. Usually loneliness is the worst form of depression. And to put yourself out there, like me doing this right here, I felt, I've been thinking about it for, since you invited me, it's been a pit of worry, just putting yourself out there and, letting the world judge you. Luckily we have editing, and maybe we can do some green screening with this, but it's very, but that the whole thing is putting yourself out there, taking a little bit of a risk, and just being in it. That's the best part.
Well, before I edit this, I have a gallery of Genshin Impact skins I'll let you choose from, and we'll get something figured out for you, so that way.
Put some kind of Burka thing, or I don't know.
So one thing to go back to when you're talking about don't spend your time in stores waiting for packs, a lot of people, and this might go towards my friend who had some very kind words for me when I started kind of taking things a little seriously. The time that a lot of people like to cherry pick where, like, for instance, yes, you can wait in a Target and buy a bunch of packs and then sell those packs for double what the MSRP is. But you're not factoring in the time that you spent waiting, procuring it. So ultimately, what you're thinking, you're getting this big come up, you're really not. You're basically making the same thing I do an hour if you really want to calculate things by an hour in bulk. So you can't think of it that way. It's not as big of a come up as you think. And there's only going to be so many people out there that are willing to spend that much of a premium on a pack that they can get themselves. What is your attitude? Not necessarily on your part of whatnot with the singles and stuff, but these what are they? The rip till you hit. Like what do you, how
Uh-huh.
do you feel about that? Those kinds of casino style games, and not just on Whatnot, but as a whole.
I don't. I've seen it, and I've seen like sellers get absolutely cooked. You can go 14, 15 packs without an EX, and especially if you're not getting your packs from a booster box. If you're getting it from blisters or whatever. It can hurt both ways, but it can be very beneficial too. It's but yeah, Whatnot. You have to be. I don't know. I'm gonna be. I'm gonna do. My wife got onto eBay Live, and she's going to do her first show tomorrow, but we have to do a certain number of shows, and she unfortunately we don't think we have enough inventory to make it work. So I'm going to sell some I'm going to do some card stuff on eBay Live, probably starting in the next couple of weeks. And it's I'm just going to play it like I
How
would
does
want
that
to be
work? Like
treated.
if her store gets approved for a specific
Yeah.
category, is she able to
Oh,
shoehorn in your stuff
geez.
like that without an issue?
Yeah,
Or
we asked, yeah, and they said there's no problem. You can
okay,
jump categories. It's fine. So we do athletic wear and Lululemon, and they said go ahead if you have cards to sell, just sell it. But it was a big vetting process.
oh, I bet.
There was a interview. They came back. There was a whole contract thing, but I don't want to get into that. And but it was a process for sure. And it was, but like Whatnot was like, are you human? Click here. Okay, you're approved as a seller. Even the human was probably a gray area. But like I got approved. I got approved immediately. Like
Yeah.
I'm in. So there's something wrong with that. You know what I mean? But but yeah, it's I don't know the whole Whatnot thing. It's hard if you have a conscience. It's
Yeah, it's
but at the
definitely
same time,
something to introduce at some point. But if you're just starting off, I think me and Teal would both suggest just start with your collection first if you have any, and if you don't,
yes, yeah,
get some bulk, find some
yeah.
bulk. It might seem like it's hard to find, but it's really not. You might have to overpay for it at first, and even if you overpay, you're still going to be able to figure out a way to
I
make
probably
money off of it.
overpaid.
Yeah.
What you kind of guided me through that first bulk purchase, and I think I did overpay a little bit, but you figure that stuff out. That's part of the learning curve. And remember too, most Magic players, they're probably playing two colors,
Hmm.
so that you can just buy the cards that they don't want and sell those.
Yeah.
Just pad your margins. Buy it for 60% or 70%, and then build your margins into your sales, and
Yeah, I think that's
it's
one
good.
thing that players and collectors, I don't think they don't do enough, which is use their own collection to their own advantage. Like I understand wanting to
But,
collect things, and like I have master sets and stuff, but when I used to play Magic, I would hold on to a lot of things that I really had no use for, and it's
right.
kind of important to like recognize that so you can use that to not only fund your own hobby, but if you ever decide to
Yeah.
start doing this, like why not? Like that, most of those things you can probably get back with relative ease anyway. And if not, what are you gonna do? Spend an extra $5, $10 in 6 months time? Like, what are
Absolutely.
you gonna
Your
do?
your life total is a resource. Use
Yep.
your other stuff. It's a resource. It's a means to an end. You could do this without putting any extra money into it. You have an initial investment and then it just snowballs. As long as you don't self sabotage and rip stuff and do stupid stuff, which I've done too. I remember when I first started too. I'll tell you this story. I love drums and I played drums and I started making some money at doing the cards, and something inside of me said, Joe, you need a snare drum. You need a new cherry wood snare drum. So I bought it with the money from Teal Games, and then I'm going to like, okay, why are my sales slowing down? Oh, that's right, I haven't bought anything because I used all my cash flow to buy
Yeah.
something stupid for myself. So you have to watch those pitfalls too, and just be careful. But as long as you do it slowly, you can kind of. It's like Frogger. If you're going super fast, you're probably gonna get hit by a car. But if you take it slow, you're in those lower. Just poop, poop, poop. Hey, you did it. You're at the
Yep.
end. You won that round. So that's it. Just. But that being said, too, if it's like a great opportunity, you got to go. Just go. Fuck it.
Yeah. There's no easier way to learn a lesson than to lose a little bit of money.
That's
The amount of money you lose is the easier lesson to learn, and that's something I've learned. I'm sure you would have the same sentiment when it comes to that because it's really easy to learn not to do something again when you accidentally lose
Oh,
$500 in
yeah.
an instant.
Yeah, and get QuickBooks. I'll tell you that too, as if from a new seller, like start logging all your transactions because
Yeah.
tax time comes and that's like the worst part, you know.
I am being a dangerous man because I didn't do any taxes. I didn't keep track of anything last year because I didn't expect to do $40,000 in sales. So I'm being a little dangerous and just saying, hey, I spent this much, and then just waiting for Uncle Sam to come find me to give me some
Right.
extra time to go back throughout this whole year to go and like get that stuff in line. But that's
I'm
actually one of my on my things to do next weekend for Easter is I'm going to go starting from January of this year and get everything in line and start tracking it daily because I plan on trying to start an LLC by my birthday, which is in August. So yeah, I need to get that in line, and it's definitely a
yeah,
solid bit of advice to do.
yeah. Don't skimp on your tax preparer, your funeral director, your pest control guy. You know, just there's get a good bookkeeper if you need
Yeah,
to, but or QuickBooks, which is amazing, and you can
is it
kind of
free?
just log it. I think I pay. I want to say there's certain plan. Like there's some plans that even port in like your online sales. Like I bought
Oh,
the program that allows you 2 online platforms. So I think it's 39.99 a month, or maybe it's the next one, and you get Like my wife does Whatnot on hers, and I do. Well, now I'm gonna start doing Whatnot because I'm actually making some revenue from there. But yeah, it actually imports everything and then tracks all your expenses. So and you can see how many times you order pizza for the month. So that's fantastic. You know, that pie, that pizza, it's like
yeah.
pizza is this giant part.
Visualizing that type of
Yeah.
stuff can really
Yeah, I didn't even
hammer
know
home
that.
that you need to make some changes. I know we're kind of getting towards the end of things. Did you have anything you want to put out there? Or any random questions you want to ask before we kind of
No,
sign out?
I
Or
just, I appreciate your how candid you are with the mental health and the anxiety and putting yourself out there and stuff. Have you noticed therapy and talking to people and just talking to your friends and a lot of people wait to get to talk to somebody about help or whatever. It's like termites eating your house. They wait
yeah,
until the support beam is gone, and then they throw a tent over it and they hope something. It's good to when you're feeling good to talk to people, and that way you have the tools to. That when things do get wrong or go a little wonky, that you can handle it. It's already too far gone if you're in a bad spot. But do you find it getting easier and
yeah,
like talking and getting out here?
yeah. It's. I've said it before. I was always a very outgoing person. Like it's not hard for me to have fun or make someone feel comfortable. So knowing that that's how I am and getting into the cocoon that I was in, it really just sucked. But really, what started pulling me out was getting into Rob's Discord and just having contact with people that weren't work. Because with my job, talking to people who are pissed and sick all day
Right, all the time. Yeah.
would only perpetuate that going home because the last thing I would want to do is talk to anybody. And that's what kind of really stopped this from happening for a long time because I would be so amped to want to do videos or go live or stream video games. And then by the time I get home, it's just I don't want to talk to anybody. But I know that's not good. And I'm still even now kind of struggling with like trying to set aside the ample time because I'll have all the cards and stuff. And it's just like at some point you just have to count to three, and which is I've been doing. And so I count to three no matter where I'm at. It's like, okay, this has to be done. So between the Discord groups and the little bit of interaction I've had with people reaching out to me on Discord saying, hey, I just came across your video and it was great. And I really appreciate the advice. I'm just some random dude. I am not important at all. So for someone to take their time
Right.
out of their day to come say something like that to me, it feels good, and it kind of starts to really kind of pull you out of that group. So kind of as you were saying before, man, like we were not meant to be solitary in solitary confinement. We were not meant to be alone. So
Right.
if you're as down as I was or not, just simply getting into a Discord or a group where you have some like-minded folks to talk to about things, it can really do some wonders. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, you're doing incredible, man. Just keep it moving. This whole content thing that you got going, and I can't wait to see what's gonna come next.
Hopefully something big, but I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I hear.
Yeah.
Well, we won't talk about it now, but we'll
Yeah.
be looking forward to that announcement shortly, I would imagine.
Yes, sir.
So, but yeah, thank you for this. I don't know if we're done, but I appreciate just the time and being able to talk to somebody about this thing that I love to do. Hopefully, one day it'll be my full, maybe full time, or when I retire. I don't know. I'm 45 now, so I don't know how much time I have left on my other endeavor, but it's good to have like overlapping things, maybe when that one we're in the twilight of that one, this one will, just be hitting noon, you know what I mean? The sun's high.
Yeah.
So it's good, man. So I'd love to see where you go next for sure.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, as far as your thing goes, I think there was a Sage band called 3 Days Grace that once said, "Not too late, never too late." So it's, you got plenty of time to get it taken care of, and age is just a number. If you want it, if anyone out there, if you want it,
you can do it.
You want it hard enough, you'll figure out a way to do it. So,
I got to tell you one thing. At 35, I decided that I wanted to learn how to play ice hockey. And I didn't say Monday I'm gonna go get skates. I said today I'm gonna go get skates. And I went down to the ice den where the Florida Panthers play. I bought skates that day, and I started ice skating that night. It was horrible. It was 2 years of falling, destroying my body, not being able to do it. But about year 3, I got on a hockey team. I scored a goal, and the rest is history. And that was my whole goal. From learning to skate, I had to learn to skate with 5-year-old kids. That's how they put me in a kid class so I could do it, and I did it. It took a lot, but you did it. So just start. That's it, man. Just start. Man. You got it.
All right, buddy. Well, I very much appreciate your time. I keep forgetting to ask at the beginning, but we'll have all of his links in the bottom, his YouTube, his whatnot, any other socials he wants me to put in there, we'll put in there. So, Teal, buddy, I appreciate your time very much. Hope to see you guys in the next episode, and we will see you soon. Have a good one.
Peace.
Bye.